Hey everybody, welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another Choosing Beggar Reddit video. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe and click on notifications so you don't miss out on the fun. In our first story, a choosing beggar tries to scam our OP's uncle for free pizza. Cue our local police officers. Let's jump right in. Hello everybody. Recently, I've seen a lot of Choosing Beggar posts, so I decided to post one of my own. Take everything in the story with a grain of salt since this is all information from my uncle, so I'm not sure if he embellished certain parts. Now, without further ado, let's get started on this story. Some backstory. This happened a few years ago, maybe in 2015 or 2016. My uncle owns a pretty successful pizza store. It's not part of a franchise, he only owns the one location. At his pizza place, my uncle is usually the one who handles the phone calls. My uncle looks pretty intimidating. He is a large, burly man with a beard, and in American terms, he would be around 6'3". Despite his looks, my uncle is a pretty nice guy who always bends over backwards to please customers, and always tries to make everyone's day pleasant. This has, on more than one occasion, meant that certain rude customers would try to take advantage of him. There is one thing in particular these customers like to use, the return policy. My uncle has a return policy that states if someone is unsatisfied with their order, they can return it intact with their receipt within a 24-hour time limit and either get a refund or 2 new pizzas of their choice. This is the story of one of those customers. On a particularly slow day, my uncle gets a call from a man he will be called Choosing Beggar. My uncle went to high school with Choosing Beggar and knew Choosing Beggar had anger issues. Choosing Beggar and my uncle chat on the phone for a few minutes before Choosing Beggar eventually orders 3 large pepperoni pizzas. My uncle has the cooks make the pizzas and he sends them out to Choosing Beggar's house. 2 hours later, my uncle gets a phone call from Choosing Beggar. "Hello, Uncle. This is Choosing Beggar. I ordered 3 pizzas earlier today." "Yes, I remember. Do you have a problem?" "Yes, I was unsatisfied with my order. I would like to request to trade them in for 6 new pizzas." "No problem. What pizzas would you like?" "I'd like 6 Supremes. A Supreme is an extra large pizza with ham, beef, and chicken with 3 different types of Italian cheese. It's also the most expensive pizza my uncle sells." "Is that okay?" "Sure, anything for an old friend. You just have to return the 3 pizzas you bought with a receipt and I'll gladly serve them up for you." About that, me and my family already ate those pizzas, but can we still get the new ones anyway? My kids are still hungry." "I'm sorry, man, I can't do that. It's store policy." "Come on, dude, I can't afford it. Please, can we just get them for free?" "Sorry, Choosing Beggar, no means no. I'd love to help you, but I can't." Choosing Beggar now becomes angry. "Bull stuff. You can't even help an old friend. I'll be there in an hour. My pizzas better be ready or I'll never order here again." Choosing Beggar then hangs up. My uncle decides to make Choosing Beggar's pizzas anyway. He doesn't think losing a friend was worth a few pizzas. So he tells the cooks to make the 6 Supremes. An hour later, Choosing Beggar arrives at my uncle's pizza place in a brand new top-of-the-line sports car. Can't afford it, my butt. And he was furious. "You better have my flipping pizzas ready now, dipstuff. Honestly, what is my friendship worth to you that you would trade for 6 flipping pizzas?" Choosing Beggar, please calm down. You're disturbing the other customers. "I don't flipping care about other customers. I could buy the other customers if I wanted. Give me my goldarn pizzas. The customer is always right." Choosing Beggar then continues to freak out and because of his anger management issues starts trashing the tables and chairs. My uncle then gets up from behind the counter and gets up in Choosing Beggar's face and tells him to sit down and that his pizzas would be ready soon. Since my uncle was a big burly wall of a man, Choosing Beggar sits down with a whimper. My uncle already had his pizzas prepared, but after that outburst, he sure as heck wasn't going to give them to Choosing Beggar. He called the police, and they arrived 10 minutes later. One of them restrained Choosing Beggar, and the other looked over the camera footage with my uncle. Choosing Beggar was later arrested, and my uncle ended up giving the 6 pizzas away to the police officers as a thank you. This whole incident also inspired my uncle to change his return policy. Story number 2 shows us a choosing beggar who wants to rent a boat on Memorial Day. Could they make this process any more difficult? So I work at a marina that rents out pontoon boats for full days and half days, 10 hours and 5 hours respectively. I had a dude try to get a deal for me on a pontoon boat rental to go tubing on Memorial Day with no reservation whatsoever. I said no on money, but I do like saying yes, so I said I could let him have the boat an hour extra. He agrees. Boat rental is at 1 and goes to 7 now because I gave him the extra hour. Now some people show up a little late, and I work with them on getting their entire 5-hour half day because usually they're wrangling kids and I want people to have stress-free days when they rent from us, so I'm pretty relaxed about when they come back. This dude shows up 45 minutes late with no excuse, with just his wife and grown daughter, while also still wanting his extra hour. I love giving deals and stuff, but this dude isn't even trying to meet me halfway. Then, he says he didn't want to buy a tow rope for his tube, so he has to borrow one of ours. We don't rent tubes, so we don't have any ropes like that. He knows this because he asked earlier on the phone. Pretty presumptuous of him to not buy one, assuming we would let him use one free of charge. We make one out of 2 shorter ropes meant for tying to the pier. Now with the rope done, I ask, "Where's the tube?" He responds, "Oh, I haven't opened it yet. Do you have a pump we can use to blow it up?" At this point, I'm so close to just being like, "You want me to ride it for you too?" So in the back of the garage, we have an air compressor. I wheel it out and get to filling his tube with a nozzle that obviously isn't meant for his tube. Then he starts criticizing that it's taking too long and we're losing daylight. The choosy part, lol. After getting an extra hour from me, after being 45 minutes late to his own reservation, asking for ropes we don't have and asking us to fill tubes we don't sell or rent, and, of course, asking for a deal on the whole thing. The beggy part. So finally we get them out on the water and all was good. They left the boat like really dirty for only a few people with wrappers and stuff, but that's not the biggest deal in the world. Then I get a text from him later that night asking about a rental for the 4th of July. That might not sound crazy to most people, but we sell out boat rentals for that day on the 5th of July the prior year. You might be thinking, well, it doesn't hurt to ask, I guess. And you'd be right. But he didn't leave it at that. Our motel, Marina, is owned by a popular boat dealership in town. So he started asking about us bringing a boat we're trying to sell down to the marina just for him on the 4th of July, the biggest boat rental day of the year, just because he's so special. We said no, lol. So I just want to wrap this up by mentioning we go really hard and above and beyond for our customers. Our motel has had guests coming every year for 30 plus years, and the boat dealership remains close with all their customers. Loyalty is important to us, so we make sure we're plenty loyal to them too. But this guy, from out of state, being presumptuous, asking for a deal on a holiday, showing up late, criticizing us for taking too long, and had never been a customer before. It's just not how to behave or conduct business. Story 3 shows us a choosing beggar who says he wants to buy a truck. It is pretty normal for the test drive to involve moving all your stuff to a new city, isn't it? This just happened last week. I still can't believe this guy. I recently upgraded my car, so I'm selling a 2004 GMC Sierra in really good condition for $3,000. It's been smog checked and worked on recently. Everything is solid. I've had people text me, "What's the lowest you'll take?" over and over for about a month until this guy came along. We'll call him Frank for the sake of his story. Frank calls in at 11:30 p.m. one day, telling me he needs a truck as soon as possible. He says he doesn't have time to waste and wants to meet ASAP. I asked him if we could wait until the morning, but he kept insisting that he needed it as soon as possible. Alright. So I call my university security office, who are close friends of mine, and let them know I'll be meeting with someone for a possible vehicle sale on campus. They're happy to stand by as I talk to Frank. 15 minutes later, I pull into the parking lot and Frank is standing there next to a beach cruiser bike. He tells me he just biked across town to meet me there. As I approach him, he introduces himself, then proceeds to waste 20 minutes telling me about his family, came from Colombia, yada yada yada, then asks for the keys. I give him the keys and he starts the engine, inspects it, pulls the dipstick and checks all around. Frank doesn't find anything else for another 10 or so minutes of checking everything for a second time. Frank then approaches me and tells me he needs me to pick him up the next morning at his apartment and drive him and the truck over to his mechanic, which will charge me $400 to do an inspection for him. I tell him no, and that if he wants to do an inspection, he is welcome to bring a mechanic with him or at least pay for the inspection. At this point, Frank gets upset and starts raising his voice, telling me I'm some sort of a scammer trying to sell him junk. I politely tell him I'm happy to take the truck to wherever he wants as long as he pays for the inspection and it's within city limits. He finally agrees, but I still must pick him up the next day. At this point, I just want to sell this truck, so I agree. Next day comes along, I pick him up, and while on the way there, he tells me the buying process is taking too long and the most he will pay is $2,000. I tell him $2,500 is the lowest I'll take. He doesn't seem happy. We talk a bit more before he changes the subject and tells me he's moving to a city 3 hours away and needs to use the truck as a test drive to move his stuff on that same day. I look at him thinking he's joking, and he proceeds to ask me, "Can you fill up the tank?" I excitedly tell him, "Sure thing." We don't talk much more until we get to his mechanic. As soon as he gets out to greet his buddy, I drive out of the parking lot and head home. Frank is about to learn how to use public transportation. Don't be like Frank. This has been John from Slash Bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to see more of them, then hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next one.